Let's bat that back then. Midweek fixtures, some big ones coming up. Watford versus Leeds, Sheffield United versus Middlesbrough, West Brom versus Blackburn. Probably the pick of the bunch, fellas. We'll move to all first for this. Watford, Leeds. That looks tasty all of a sudden with Watford's draw at Sunderland, doesn't it, Ollie? And Leeds draw down there last season, but they were battered by Watford. Emmanuel Dennis show. I think this is going to be maybe trickier than a lot of Leeds fans think.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is one of those games that really does look like a banana skin. I think they've had their difficulties at home recently. They had a fantastic run, basically up until United played them at the end of December. I think they were still unbeaten at home. I think they got maybe the joint second best record in the league behind Leeds up until that point. Since then, I think it's been 2 or 3 defeats that they've picked up. So they have started to struggle a little bit at Vicarage Road, but I think that's a horrible game to play. I think the only thing that makes me lean towards it potentially being a comfortable win is that obviously Leeds rested 10 players at the weekend. You know, they've been able to take a little bit of a break, take stock of where they're at, whereas Watford had that really difficult, hard-fought battle at Sunderland that maybe they're going to have to try and recover from. It's a long journey back home that you've got to bear in mind for them coming back from the Stadium of Light. So, yeah, I think this is a tricky one. I think it's a potential banana skin, but I expect Leeds to navigate it.
Yeah, Gab, just moving on to this Watford team right now. Do you think they'll be galvanised after what happened at the weekend against Sunderland?
I think it's the kind of performance and possibly results that can galvanise them. Definitely big positives to take from them in terms of the performance of Shaqiri. I think that's a big plus. I love the way that Tom Cleverley has galvanised them. I was a little bit surprised to kind of move it on to an odds angle that in terms of the double chance, Watford or draw is 13-8, which considering Leeds have only won 6 of their 15 away games,
a bit of that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good value just to touch on the gambling aspect. But I think Watford will hope they can use that as a springboard to build on that performance.
100%. Feels like it's definitely going to be a midfield battle in there. Sheffield United, Middlesbrough, huge game, massive game. Borough, this could be a bit of a statement win. It feels like it's going to be extremely tight between the two. Borough, not the greatest defensively. Sheffield United at the minute, a little bit at odds, really. Ollie, how do you see this one going, mate?
It's really difficult one to predict because obviously we played Borough earlier in the season, and actually when we went to the Riverside, I thought that we were playing Borough as equals. You know, at the start of the season, Borough were one of the teams who I thought were most likely to disrupt the top two. I thought they'd be right up there in that debate with Leeds and with Burnley. I think their ceiling is up there with the best in the league, as we said before. I think they've got a really strong team in there, but for whatever reason, it's just not happening for them at the moment. They've been in some terrible form since about Boxing Day, when they absolutely crumbled against Wednesday, and since then, they've just never been able to really recover the form to get themselves going again. But this is a big game under the lights at Bramall Lane, and I think last time we got promoted, they came and battered us at Bramall Lane. And if I'm being honest, I think there's half a chance they could do that again. I think their dynamism through midfield will be massive for this game. I think if United don't change it up, if we see Chowdhury and Sousa again, I would expect Hackney to have a bit of a field day, sort of running that midfield, picking up all the second balls, making sure that they're always the aggressor in the game. I'm a little bit worried about how they're going to come at us down the wings. I think without Latte Lath, I'm a little bit less concerned about how clinical they're going to be in front of goal. I think there's a chance, if it's Conway, for example, I think there's a chance that he needs 2 or 3 chances to put one in the back of the net. So maybe we'll ride our luck again like Portsmouth. But if United turn up and put in the same level of performance that we have done in our last 2 home games, there's no way we win this. We've got to be better. We've got to make changes. We've got to find a structure that suits these new players and gets the most out of them. Because if we just stick to what we've been doing in recent weeks, I know we're on a great run of form. I think we've won 5 in 6, but the performances do not back that up. And eventually you get caught out. I thought Hull would be the lesson learned. It hasn't been. We've continued to be stodgy. We've continued to struggle. And so I'm really worried about this one midweek. On our channel, I'm going to be predicting that we lose this one because I do think that Borough have got a point to prove, and I think United are just in a difficult patch at the minute. So unless we make big changes, I expect Borough to come, and I think my prediction would probably be 3-1 because I just think that if they're cutting through us the way that other teams have cut through us with their increased sort of attacking efficiency, I don't see how we keep them out.
And a big incentive as well, Gab, for Borough, isn't it, up against Sheffield United with West Bromwich Albion playing Blackburn Rovers?
Yeah, so they're not both going to win. Cutting edge insight here on the Sportsman Untitled.
Cheers, Gab. Good work.
I'm here for you, mate. I think I'm really excited to see what Middlesbrough can do. They obviously got Sheffield United's number because they did win a crucial game at Bramall Lane in the second half of the 2023 campaign. So Michael Carrick's side have got that positive memory, I suppose. But yeah, they've just got so many really creative attacking players. Finn Azaz, I've been a massive fan of in the Championship this season. So yeah, he'll certainly be one for Sheffield United to keep quiet.
Yes, touch on Sheffield United's transfer window really, really quickly because we've got you here, Ollie. An interesting one, wasn't it? Obviously, there was rumoured targets, Harry Darling, Jimmy Dunn. Obviously, you ended up on Rob Holding. There was obviously Ben Brereton Diaz brought in. I know Tom Cannon's been controversial, a £10 million signing, of which I know it seems to be a 50-50 split. Harry Clark coming in as well. And Hamza Chowdhury, I thought was excellent against Derby County.
Yes, he was.
How do you see it at the minute, that January transfer window?
Yeah, we tried to do an evaluation of this because I think going into the window, there were difficulties within our squad. We knew we'd not got the players. We knew that we needed to do a lot of work. I think centre forward in particular, for a few games through January, Ryan Brewster were playing, and that's not ideal, shall we say, when you're looking to try and get automatic promotion from the Championship. He's not the player you want to be relying on. So I'm glad that we've gone out and done that business. I think it's a real statement of intent from new owners. They wanted to have a little bit of a statement signing, come and show what they are all about, what they want to do. Tom Cannon's struggled in his early games at United. Obviously, you don't write somebody off after 3 games. There's a lot of potential there. He's a young player who's going to really develop into a fantastic striker for United. But for the here and now, I'm not sure of his place in the team because it doesn't seem as though he's playing the same role the way that Campbell's played it, the way that Kiefer Moore plays it. He's a little bit at odds and he's struggling to get involved in the game. So I think certainly for the here and now, that one's not quite paying off. But there's every chance, we say that and then Wednesday night we go and play Borough and he gets 2. So hopefully that's what we're hoping for, something to kickstart his time with us. Brereton Diaz we've wanted since the summer. I think if we'd stayed up last season, we would have spent any money to keep Ben Brereton Diaz. We felt like he had to go to the Premier League. It's not worked out for him, so we're really lucky to have him back at the club. I love Chowdhury. I like Clark. He had an absolute nightmare on Saturday, but I do like him. I think he'll be good. But ultimately, I don't think we answered the question that we came into the window with. I think we came into that transfer window with one very big gaping gap in our team, and it was the replacement of Harry Souttar, a 6'7", dominant monster who will physically sort of control any game. A big striker like Colby Bishop comes to Bramall Lane and he says, right, I'm going to physically dominate you. Harry Souttar laughs in your face and pushes you on the floor because he's just that kind of player who means that they're not going to be able to get the ball up front and hold it.
I mean, he wouldn't have been laughing in his face because it'd be...
It'd be laughing miles above him.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem for me, is that we brought in Rob Holding in the end. We did a little bit of sort of throwing darts at a dartboard. It seemed like on sort of deadline day, there were players rumoured, like you say, Darling, like Tanganga was talked about for a long time. And he would have been fantastic. I think, I'd said at the time, I think, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I said, signing Tanganga is the difference between finishing 3rd and 2nd. Signing, ultimately, all respect to him, but signing Holding, it's the difference between finishing 3rd and 5th. Like, it's that kind of thing where I just think as though we've not answered the key question. And so we went into that game against Portsmouth and everything that we were worried about was suddenly there, front and centre. They've got a big, strong centre forward. He's pinned you in and you can't do anything to try and combat that. So I think it was a good window in terms of setting us up for the future. I think it was a good window in terms of a statement of intent. I think we signed some really good players, but I don't think we answered the key question that was, can you replace Harry Souttar? And right now, the answer to that is no, unless Rob Holding turns out to be a foot taller than I thought he was.
Yeah, it does feel like that. And Gab, just your quick thoughts on the I guess, the top 4's window, because it feels crucial right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I quite like that Leeds knew when not to sign players as well as when to sign players, because I think that sometimes you can, if you go too big in January, you can actually disrupt the cohesion. I think Sheffield United needed to sign six players. I don't think Leeds, they might have needed a goalkeeper. That's a different conversation. But I don't think, even the centre-forward conversation, they scored 7 goals past Cardiff, so they are able to sort of spread the goals out. So I quite liked in a way that Leeds were able to say, you know what, if the deal's not right, we're going to sit back and trust what we've got.
I think on that as well, because we've spoken to a few Leeds fans and I've sort of been part of that conversation, and it feels like there is a real, we've not done any business, everybody else has been proactive, that's going to cost us, why have we not done any business? But actually, when you sit back and you objectively look at these transfers, and maybe the questions for you, Connor, is Which of those players gets in Leeds' team? Of all the signings that have been made by United, by Burnley, by Sunderland, which of those players actually starts a game for Leeds this season? I don't think the answer, maybe you might pick Enzo Lefebvre, but where? Where does he get in the team? And so I don't see that Leeds will be sat there and should be worried about the sort of squad strength when none of these players really get into their team.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ollie. I think as well, you look at I think it's quite sensible from the owners as well, because there's a lot of obligations in loans, nowadays, especially when it's difficult to get hold of certain personnel. I think if the 49ers, Leeds owners, are looking at the Premier League, I think the rumoured Cameron Archer, Adam Armstrong, you kind of look at those, and if they've got an obligation in there, which potentially they have, you do look at that and think, long-term view, are those players going to be an asset to you in the Premier League?
You want the loans with the option to buy if you're going to go for anyone, as opposed to the obligation to buy, because then you...
100%.
You've got wiggle room.
100%. And yeah, I feel like, I know there's a lot of Leeds fans who are not maybe a fan of Matteo Joseph. I think as a second striker to Joel Peru, it's sort of more than enough. And Leeds are lucky enough to have Dan James, Mano Solomon, Ramazani, Nonso, etc., just in behind chipping in.